Guys, what is building beauty?
I've been calling it alternative architecture school, but I don't think it makes it very appealing. They're just like, what have you done this past year? I was like, oh, I went to alternative architecture school. I'm just like, and they're like, oh, okay.
Do you get a different response to that if you're talking to an architect versus a non-architect?
I don't encounter that many architects. I encounter mainly like software engineers.
Julian, you are one of the instructors for some of the building beauty courses. How do you describe it to folks?
In essence, building beauty is a postgraduate diploma in architecture or ecological architecture and construction. Yeah, the whole course in itself has like a head, heart, and hands integrated approach to making architecture. And each course sort of focuses on different aspects of that. So the Self and Wholeness course, for example, is really about leading with the heart and the head. So the head aspect is sort of just the intellectual approach to getting into your heart and into your body. And the theory course, The Nature of Order, is really sort of, you could say it's more of the head space. It's really the deep theory of how can you unfold beautiful buildings and beautiful places. And then the studio course is sort of that combination. It's like bringing it all together. So it's the head, heart, and the hands approach. So it's really about using your hands to unfold everything that you've learned and have been learning.
For those curious about like specifically what that involves, like what kinds of projects are we doing in the studio?
Yeah, as a student, we started off with an ornament project, which was really about getting to know something at a small scale and how we relate to that object and that object's location. And then we move to a furniture project, which is sort of the next level of scale up, trying to take into more of account the context that the furniture piece will be sitting in. And then we actually designed a house for ourselves, which was, I found personally quite challenging because it was an introspective process to find out 5 jewels of what I'd want to see in my house. And this time we used a real site and we had to stake it out, and we tried to work as much as possible in that site, in reality, on the ground. And then we built lots of models from a 1 to 200 and then up to more details at a 1 to 50 model, until we got to something that we were reasonably happy with.
All that happens in the first semester, right? That's just one semester of work.
Yeah, so that's the first semester. Really intense. Moves pretty fast. And then in the second semester, that was dedicated just to an independent project, which was, all the students had different projects wherever they are in the world, from Canada to England to South Africa. And this project is an opportunity to develop a design for a community.
Aby, what was your independent project for the second semester?
So for my independent project, I had the good fortune to go to Slovenia. So this was, I think, the first year after the pandemic that people actually had a chance to do studio in person again. So one of our instructors, Or, is based in Slovenia, and he is friends with Jan, who is the owner of this beautiful farm that faces the west and looks at the Alps. And he's planning to move to this farm, but it's not really quite ready. And my goal there was to sort of like help it in its first step of transformation towards like somewhere that a home or a place to live.
What did that project end up looking like?
So we went back there during the summer for our summer school to actually build the project. So that was really exciting too. It was funny because like originally it started as an idea of like, oh, we need something like showers, right? Something really practical. You know, this will be a place where potentially students would visit. They would come here and be able to practice their skills and contribute to the life of the farm. But as it turns out, as we were building, we're just like, this doesn't seem quite right. There's nothing to sort of orient these showers, right? There's something missing. There needed to be another first step. And then finally that gradually transformed into a gathering spot. We realized, oh, what's missing actually is the center of the village. What's missing is a place for like the village to sort of emerge from. So we ended up creating this meeting point in this place of this like fruit drying rack that was there that had sort of like fallen apart. But it was actually in this perfect space, like right in the center of the farm. that sort of like you could see from every point of the farm. It was like slightly elevated. It was surrounded by this like beautiful copse of trees. So that came down, and in its place, we reinforced the back wall and created this really nice space to just hang out.
Lovely. Aby, you and I, we both have backgrounds in technology. That's how we've kind of found our way to Chris Alexander. And there are a lot of folks that are interested in his ideas, like from a pattern language and in the nature of order. Is there any benefit to those folks that are more interested in kind of like the theory and the conceptual aspects of it? Any benefit to them taking the studio class?
Yeah, I would definitely say there is. So one of the things that we learned during Nature of Order is like how something with life emerges, and there's sort of this like iterative process. So you take one thing, right, and you're like, okay, what is the next step that would make it, come to life more, right? What would be the next step after that, right? And then I realized that you could actually take what I just learned in the class of theory. You could actually just, create iterations, and you could use yourself as like a sensor or a way to like sort of tell what's going on.
Yeah, there's like a real synergy between the studio course and the Nature of Order theory class, because what we're learning is so new to the students, and you really need the theory class to work in alignment with the studio course.
When it's sort of in your head, it's a bit hard to use. It just doesn't feel quite concrete yet, and the studio just gives you that space and that feedback and the opportunity to try these ideas out. So they're really quite like closely interlinked in my mind.